Tell us about what you watched.
So I watched the women's or World Women's Circuit Racing Championship.
Yes, you did.
They had their first round or their first round this weekend. And so last year we had Ana Carrasco who won the championship, but she actually decided not to return this year. She now races for Honda France in World SSP, which is Superbike something. So she's racing there this weekend. Sorry, I had looked her up earlier and I had saw something else that had thrown me off completely, but I guess people are doing this now, but I'm not sure if I should mention it. But now that I said it, I feel
you
like I should.
You gotta say it.
So, because I was trying to find out what she is doing now because she didn't come back.
Yeah.
And Maria Herrera actually ended up getting a watch for being the driver with the highest points from last season to return this season. So she ended up getting a watch, which I was like, damn, Anna, you missed out on that. But then I also looked up Anna's IG, and she's an OnlyFans athlete.
Oh, interesting.
And so I was like, what does that mean?
I don't
because
know.
I know that OnlyFans also sponsors athletes, because I know that like we've seen them in Toyota Gazoo racing.
Yeah, there's
They
like
had an OnlyFans.
racing teams that are sponsored by OnlyFans.
But it seems like, especially also after the Olympics, a lot of athletes use OnlyFans to help pay for their training.
Oh, interesting. I mean, it makes sense.
It makes
Especially
sense.
a lot of women athletes don't have all the sponsorships, or also a lot of athletes that don't come from like these big.
Correct. If you don't come from a lot of money, and like motorsports is also notoriously expensive.
Yeah.
I will also say, I think, as far as I understanding, OnlyFans doesn't necessarily mean it's explicit content.
Oh, yes. No,
It's
no,
just
it doesn't.
paywalled content.
Yes.
So, when I saw that, I was like, what?
Oh, yeah.
But
That's
anyways,
interesting.
so
Yes.
she's racing in there. So then this year we have returning.
Well, she doesn't race in OnlyFans.
Ooh, I don't know.
I mean, she could maybe
She
share
could
some
be- She could be
racing.
doing wheelies. We don't know. I guess you guys have to subscribe and let us know to find out.
Yes, please do. Somebody
but-
please subscribe and let us know. I mean, we could, but you should.
Yeah, we could, but you
should.
So this year, then we had, who I thought would have been, quite honestly, a deserved champion last year as well. Maria Herrera returned, full of fire and energy.
Of course.
Then we also have Beatrice Nela returning last year. She was a top 5 contender a lot last year.
Wait, before you get into it, I'm so excited for whatever it is that you have to share now, because obviously we were next to or in the same room, not in the same bed because we're siblings. But I was overhearing you watching things and hearing your reaction as I was on the other end of the room listening to my stuff or watching my stuff. But it was just, I heard some, and like your spoiler, your face mask came off.
Yeah, we had a face mask on because the sun was out so much over the weekend. But yeah, it fell off because I was like, what is going on here? Just a women's circuit racing championship is so good.
Yeah.
So and you can watch it on YouTube for free, and I would highly recommend going back. They usually do 12 laps, so that's like 25 minutes tops racing that they're doing. And yeah, so we have Maria Herrera returning, Beatrice Nela, Sarah Sanchez is returning. We have also Tyler Ralph, Lucy Michelle, the German raider. There's a bunch of them that are returning, and then we have also one that is returning that I think we are going to have to keep our eyes on this year.
Ooh.
Because I thought for sure going into this weekend, it's going to be a Spaniards lockout up front.
Oh,
right?
it wasn't.
It was.
Oh.
But because Maria was obviously, like last year, especially a lot of Spanish riders were like the top 4 constantly because Ana Carrasco is also Spanish. So this year was like, okay, it's probably going to be a lot of Spanish drivers in the front. However, we have a new racer on the grid, Avalon Lewis, who is from New Zealand.
Ooh.
And she has absolutely been killing it.
Oh.
So going into race 1, we had Maria on the front, then we had Nela, then we had Sanchez, then we had Lewis, and then we have also someone who have my eyes on, which is Roberta Ponziani, one of the Italian drivers on the grid. I think there's one other Italian driver on the grid.
Rider.
rider. Sorry, guys. So those were, and Tyla as well as Lucy Michelle were the people I was like, okay, I'm gonna kind of keep an eye on you guys. Lucy unfortunately crashed out in the first race.
Oh no! Remind me, where were they racing?
They were racing in the Netherlands in
yes.
Assen.
Okay.
And it's for some people this was also like for Avalon Lewis, this was I think the first time she's ever raced on that track. So she obviously didn't have that much practice on it. I think, of course, in this championship, because it is quite Eurocentric, a lot of the European riders will probably benefit from that. Whereas you do have some people from Asia and clearly New Zealand here on the track that it can make it a little bit more difficult, you know, if you don't get to race there. And I don't think they have sim racing for motorcycles. I don't know. Anyways, so going into race one, we had immediately, and the commentator also said that, like, you have to stick with Maria right off the get-go, because if not, she'll just ride away. And Beatrice Nela stuck on her.
Oh,
she was
nice.
like, I'm going to be here.
She's such a cutie, too.
And then we had, and they immediately created a gap to Sarah Sanchez and Avalon Lewis, because they were constantly overtaking each other. They were constantly fighting with each other, which ended up wasting kind of their own time. And what was also very interesting, it was very windy there. So actually going into qualifying, a lot of the drivers partnered up with another driver to kind of give each other slipstream. However, really impressive for Beatrice Nela. She actually, because I think because of the wind, you lost like 4/10 or something. She didn't have anyone, so she went out there and rode by herself, and she qualified in P2, which is really, really awesome.
Nice.
And so so you had Sarah and Avalon Lewis kind of keeping each other busy. One person I was really upset about was Roberta Ponziani. Horrendous start. Lost like, I think she started in P5, immediately lost like, I think 6 positions, dropped way back, and then had to fight her way through the crowd again. However, she did end up finishing in P5.
Oh, nice. Good.
But it's like, girl, why are you making your life so hard, you know?
Yeah. And
then, so Lewis and Sanchez were going at each other, and then Nela, and they were also saying that the commentators were like, in the perfect world, you're going to sit in second place. You're going to sit there for a while. And then with like 4 laps to go, you're going to go on the attack. Yeah. And that's what she did. And then she overtook Maria. And then Maria was like, have you seen which number is on this bike? Do you know who I am? Yes. And she overtook. And then, and they were battling it out. And then, so on that track, going onto the final stretch on the straight, there's a like kind of like a chicane before that. And then on the last lap, you know, Nela just huge lunge, right? It lunges ahead and then gets ahead of Maria. So she's on the inside. And then Maria goes around the outside. Maria has to almost do like, and then tries to squeeze in on the right side of the second part of the chicane, and has to kind of do a little bit of an avoiding action. And then it's a shootout down the straight. And Nela comes in through the finish line first. And then Maria second. And then Maria does like this hand motion over to Beatrice Nela. And I'm like, oh, what is going on, Maria? Are you mad? Because I was like, because it was a lot happened at the same time, right? And then,
or is she like, you go, girl?
And then the commentators were like, oh, we think Beatrice actually cut the course, because there is the curb and you're allowed to drive over the curb, but past the curb is essentially like a green part of it, so it's not grass.
Yes. I know exactly what you're talking about. So do you think she was indicating you cut?
Well, and then what's happening? And
sorry,
then,
I'm trying to jump the gun.
So much, and then they do their things, and then it comes out. Yeah, so she cut the course. They essentially they're taking away from her. She's not the winner. Maria wins, and then the post race interview comes, and then first of all, Sarah Sanchez, she is beside herself. She is not happy at all. She is so upset that because there's a 8-second gap between her and Beatrice and Maria, and she was like, I cannot be 8 seconds behind
Yeah.
second place. This is like, and I'm like, oh my God, this is her first race. And you're so devastated, right?
Yeah.
It's so heartbreaking, right?
Like, it sounds like she was busy.
Yeah, she was busy, but it's like ideally you don't want to get caught up
Yeah.
in what I like to call the
She
sauce,
got caught
right?
up in the sauce. Yeah.
And then Beatrice is then also like, so I going into the season, I was like, listen, I'm gonna be a Maria Herrera guy because, like, I think Anna is a well-deserved champion, but if it would have not been for Sarah Sanchez's crash, it would have been Maria's season last year.
100%.
And my heart
100%.
breaks for, like, of course that's racing,
Yeah.
right? And but
Yes.
it is so heartbreaking because Maria is the most, or I mean, of course we're in the second season, but the most decorated rider in this championship, right? She has the most amount of poles, the most
Yes.
the wins, but that one takeout, right,
Yeah.
ruined her whole championship,
Yes.
and it wasn't even her fault.
Yes.
And it's so heartbreaking. So I was going into that, I was like, I can't help but
Yeah.
root for Maria Herrera, right? And then Beatrice Nela
Just steals your heart.
walks onto the interview, and she is just like, she has like that Selma Hayek effect. She's the most charming person. She's so charming, and she has like this heart of a lion.
Yeah.
Like, and she was also, of course, so sad.
Yeah.
That she because that would have been her first win.
Yeah.
Last year she wasn't able to get that win
Yeah.
in because it was most of the time between Anna and Maria kind of fought out.
I think
So-
Sarah Sanchez had gotten one.
yeah,
maybe.
and Sarah was because Beatrice was a little bit further, like she was usually 4 or 5 last year. So her, like, you're so close, and you don't know
Yeah.
when you're gonna get that close again, right? And then like your heart, you're like, oh man, that sucks because I don't want this for you, right?
Yeah.
And then Maria Herrera comes on, and she actually thought she came in second, and she actually gave Beatrice a huge thumbs up because she loved the racing that they had
Oh,
between
see,
each
I
other.
thought so.
Yes, and she was like, yeah, I thought I was second, but the racing was they had a few situations where the racing was really hard, but so respectful between
Yeah.
each other. And it's, especially in motorcycle racing, it is so beautiful to watch racers really go at it,
Yeah.
but in a respectful manner where you're not jeopardizing anyone else's race. And I will say, I'm gonna be honest, this is something that can happen between Herrera and Nela. This is not something that will happen between someone on the back of the field.
Yeah.
It's not, because there is a huge gap between experience across the field, and that's just what it is.
Yeah. But I agree. I mean, I haven't seen that yet. I might go back and watch it especially because it's so short.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think that's one of the beautiful things about motorcycle racing.
Yeah.
It can be just beautiful. It's
Yeah.
almost, dare I say, like dancing.
Yeah.
Because when they're almost in sync.
Yes.
But they try their different lines and they're so close and they're leaning together. And it's like you're almost, I mean, sometimes they even touch each other. Appropriately.
Yeah.
But it's like they're
so in sync.
It's incredible athleticism.
Yeah, absolutely.
And right on the edge because
Yeah.
if they go a little bit further, they might fall.
Yeah.
Or,
I mean, the average speed for them was 150 kilometers an hour. So that's pretty goddamn fast.
It is really, really fast. But sorry, continue.
However, so the way the starting grid is determined for the race 2, it goes based on fastest time.
So wait, sorry, so we had Maria first, Beatrice second, and
Sarah.
then Sarah third, and then
Lewis, Avalon Lewis in 4th, Roberta Ponziani in 5th.
okay.
And then Tyler ended up coming 6th.
Okay, nice.
Sorry, 7th.
Nice. Okay, perfect. So sorry, continue.
So the way the starting grid for round 2 is determined on your times in race 1. So Beatrice Nela actually ended up starting from the pole because she had the fastest lap.
Okay.
In the previous race. So it was, the starting grid was for the second race was Beatrice, Herrera, Sanchez, Ponziani.
Oh,
And then it was, let me see, sorry, this is not particularly. Oh, and then Avalon Lewis was in 5th. And then we had Roberta Ponziani. Sorry, she started in 4th. And Homegirl, again, making her life so difficult.
Roberta.
I think she lost 11 positions in the second race, which was, all of a sudden, she's in P15. And I don't know, they didn't go into what was going on with her starts because they're so goddamn horrendous. I mean, 11 positions.
Yeah, that is crazy. And also keep in mind, for people who are new to this league, they're all on the same bike.
Correct.
They're all on the same bike. They have, of course, different setups based on the driver and the team, or the riders and the teams. But it's essentially, it's the same bike.
They're all on a Yamaha YZF R7.
Yeah.
Do with that what you want. Superbike Championship, actually. So those are bikes that you would be able to buy.
No, exactly.
But not as modified as on the track. So Homegirl, terrible, absolutely horrendous start. Loses 11 positions, I believe, in the beginning. And then we have the top 4. So we have Lewis, Herrera, Sanchez, and Nela immediately splitting off from the front, and they're actually creating an 8-second gap to, it is Ruiz, Ralph, Tyler Ralph, and it was Madrigal was in there and a few others. So there was like a mid section, and then there was a huge gap again to the backside of the field. And also our girl Lucy Michelle started in 12th, finished in 17th. She just didn't have a good time. But and then the top 4, they were just battling with each other. At one point, Maria Herrera, she was in the front, and then she ended up going wide, so she snuck in. She filed into the 4th place again. But it almost seemed like something that Marc Marquez would do. I'm gonna see what you guys are doing. Okay. And then she was like, okay. And then within one lap, she overtook 3 and 2 again, so she was in 2nd place, and then it was her and Beatrice really, really going at it, and then at some point, unfortunately, I think it was in the last lap, Avalon Lewis ended up crashing out.
No.
I will say huge props to her for keeping up with the drivers in the front, because they were obviously pushing each other. It was really windy. It was so tricky conditions. You're a rookie in this series, first time here. I'm also racing on a track that you're not that familiar with, and you really, really pushed it, and you stuck to the front. Like you were keeping up with the other ones, and they were pushing each other by a lot. I mean, the second race, they were the lap times were a little bit slower due to the high winds.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
It was, I think, like almost like half a second slower than the previous one. But in the very end, we did get a Beatrice Nela win.
Oh, no way!
She was able to overtake at the end, and then close out the front, and then bring it home. And
that's so exciting.
It was really, really close again, because in this track, a slipstream can really do a lot for you, and there are quite a few overtaking positions. Which made it really exciting. But she overtook a little bit earlier than I thought she would. But then she, because I was like, listen, I know that Maria likes to lead from the front, so you don't really want to let the driver do what they like to do. But in this case, because Slipstream does so much for you, it might be good to overtake a little bit later. But yeah, she ended up winning, and she was, of course, over the moon.
Of course. I want to see her post-race interview.
Yes, she even was like saying something in Spanish at the end. Sarah Sanchez was a little bit more happy because she was in P3 again. However, this time around, she was much closer to the front because she was racing with the front. And Maria Herrera, she was also really happy because she did everything that she could, she said. I think she had issues with the braking because she is the type of rider who likes to brake really, really late and deep. And this is really what makes her so dangerous and so fast also, because she can really, push it to the max. But this season is going to be good. I think it's going to be very good. I will also say one of the riders, and also the only other rider who was really able from time-wise to keep up with the back is Roberta Ponziani, because her lap times were so good. So she ended up finishing in 4th. Homegirl drove up all the way from the back again. But I'm like, if she can get her starts under control, then I think she has an opportunity right in the front, because she was doing lap times close to the front. You know, she was doing a 149 and some change, and they were doing like a 149, 148 in the front. So if she would have not used up probably a lot of the tire overtaking the whole, back of everything behind P3 essentially. If she would have not had to do that, I think she would have maybe been able to do something interesting with I'm not saying she's as fast as Nela and Herrera yet, but I this is her second year, and it's like, I think you can fight in the front, Roberta. I truly think that she has it. It's just that right now you truly need to get your starts under control, because what a mess.
Yeah.
I will say, I wish they would have the option to watch a race from a specific rider's perspective, because I would have loved to see all the overtakes.
Oh, that's very true.
Dropping back and then just carving your way through that field, it must have been pretty fun.
Yes.
And then she did maximize the amount of points that she could have gotten. I don't think she would have been able to catch the other ones based on the gap at the end, because there was a 19-second gap.
Oh.
At the end, towards from like P3 to P4.
Yeah.
So it was a huge gap.
Nice. But it sounds like an exciting first round of racing for them.
It was. And I highly recommend, I know that I've of course gave away what happens, but I highly recommend checking it out. What a fun, serious, once again, they do 12 laps, so it's not a lot of racing that they do, and it's so much fun.
Nice.
It is, it's a fantastic series, and I can't wait for round 2.
I mean, I do have to say, we were very lucky this weekend. We've had so much exciting racing that we got to watch. Yes, of course, also in person at the Long Beach Grand Prix. Like we said, we'll put out a video with our recap on it. But then also, MotoGP was exciting. Formula One was exciting. Supercross was exciting. World WCR was exciting. Yeah. So it's just like so much exciting racing. Yeah. And I truly believe there's something for everybody in it, if you want to just give it a chance.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you want something shorter, if you want something a little bit longer, if you want 4 wheels, if you want 2 wheels.
If you want a tin top, if you want an open wheel, whatever you want. I mean, if you want racing in the mud.
Yes. Yeah. Literally, there's so many different options. And we're very lucky to live in this time to have all this different racing, and also to have access to so much different racing, which is it's a good time to be a race fan. A race fan, for sure.
Absolutely. But I think this will wrap up this very long episode of Race Recaps.
Yes.
Once again, we will be back on Wednesday with a special episode about the Long Beach Grand Prix. So we will be talking about our experience attending, and as well as the races that we watched. And however, I think this will wrap it up for this episode.
Yes, correct.
If you're on Spotify, make sure to hit that follow button.
Yes.
Give us a 5-star rating, please.
Yes, please.
And if you're on YouTube, do not forget to like and subscribe.
Yes, please.
And either way, get in the comments.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for showing up today.
Oh, well, thank you for showing up and doing your homework.
Thank you. And we will be seeing you guys on Wednesday.
Yes. Bye, guys.
Bye.